Well, hello and welcome to our chat this fine winter morning. Well, winter day, it's noon now. Thank you so much for joining us. Today we are looking at a marketing plan. We are trying to put everything together that we've studied throughout the term. Remember, this is our penultimate tutorial, and we want to now start putting everything together. We've been studying things in bits and pieces and silos. We've done the 4Ps, we've done the pricing plan, we've done the how do we conceptualize products and how do we put products together. We've looked at how do we distribute products. We've looked at a number of concepts in marketing, and now we want to say, okay, how does all of these concepts that we have looked at come together to give us a coherent strategy of marketing? How does one, as a marketing manager, start and begins to implement marketing strategies in a firm? Because ultimately, the reason why we are studying and looking at all of this is because we want to be able to manage marketing strategies in firms. So, so this is what we are now trying to look at and trying to piece together. And so we are looking at the penultimate chapter in this module, which is how do we put together the concept of a strategic marketing plan. All right, so some questions here that we need to ask is, to what extent do you think that the lack of a written plan contributes to the internal problems that businesses face in terms of how they go about implementing marketing plans? Okay, so as usual, we have our slides, and let me just go back. All right, so we're on chapter 14 on marketing 4E. That's the book that we've been using throughout the module, and it's a 2011 edition. So if you have that particular book, then you are able to follow what we are doing. Okay, so we are looking at marketing plan. What is a marketing plan? How does it, how do we put it together, and what does it look like? Okay, so in this today we want to talk about the nature of strategic planning, the strategic marketing plan, the value of a strategic marketing plan, the elements of a marketing plan, and the strategic marketing objectives. How do we write a marketing plan, and what does an effective plan look like? Okay, so let's firstly just look at strategic planning. Okay, so if you've never heard of the concept of strategic planning, each business, all right, in order to manage its processes and in order to manage its whole business together, needs to have a coherent set of objectives that achieves what the business is all about. So the strategic plan is just the overarching plan of what the business is all about, how it's going to achieve its objectives. All right, so here it says, and this is what your book says, Strategic planning is a managerial process of creating and maintaining a fit between the firm's objectives and resources on the one hand and evolving market opportunities on the other hand. So this is what the firm has, this is what the firm can offer on the one hand, and then on the other hand is this is what the market is all about, and this is what's in the market. And so how do we match those two things, bring them together into a coherent plan where the business with its resources and objectives can achieve what the market is looking for? All right. Strategic marketing management answers two questions. What is the firm's main activity and how will it reach its goals? All right. So what is marketing planning? It is a designing of activities relating to the marketing objectives and the changing marketing environment. Again, as with strategic planning, marketing planning is we know what's in the marketing environment, we know what the customer is looking for, and what are we going to offer the consumers in terms of what they're looking for. And therefore, we put objectives together, we design activities, marketing related activities together in order to achieve those. All right. So a marketing plan, therefore, is what comes out of marketing planning. It's a document that acts as a guideline for how marketing activities are going to be done in this business. So this business then says, in order for us to achieve our objectives, we have to market ourselves, we have to meet customer needs, we have to satisfy customer needs. How do we do that? And then the marketing plan begins to put that together in a coherent document that when anybody's reading, they know exactly how this business ought to reach its marketing objectives. Okay, so what is the value of a marketing plan? It compares actual with expected performance. It provides clearly stated objective. It examines marketing environment in conjunction with the inner workings of the firm. It acts as a reference point to determine the success of future activities. It enables us to enter the market with awareness of possibilities and problems. So it can become a problem-solving tool for the business whenever the market acts in a particular way. Then our marketing plan sort of guides us in terms of how do we act and how do we move forward based on that. Okay, so let's look at the elements now of a marketing plan. The elements of a marketing plan, so these are sort of, so in a marketing plan, in a document, a marketing plan document, these are the things that you will have in that plan. So you define the business, what business are we in? Now, most of the time, most people, that first element of defining the business is something that people don't take seriously. Why do you think people don't take that seriously? Hey? Why do you think that people sort of gloss over defining the business? They sort of overlooks the part where we say, okay, this is what the business is all about. Okay. If we don't understand what business we are in, yes, you're right, Oxford. They'll make it up as they go along. That's what most people usually do, is that they just go on with business on a daily basis, but they don't actually think about what kind of business that they're in. Look, there are many objectives out there in the market. There are many goals, there are many opportunities that we can do anything. But if we don't understand where we are going, any way will do. All right? If we don't know where we're going, we can just sort of drift along and end up anywhere. All right? But what else if we have a certain direction that we're going and we know our objective, then we can reach a particular goal, and we know when we've arrived, and we know when we need to tweak and change and turn in order to get to where we're going. All right, so that's the first part, and we're going to go into detail about defining the business. And then the strategic marketing objectives, conduct a situational analysis, competitive advantage, we formulate the strategy, we implement, we evaluate, and we control. All right. Now, the first element, defining the business mission. The mission statement, you see in most businesses when you come in, there on the placard it's written, the mission statement. It tells us what business we are in and where we are going. Okay? So what does that look like? What business are we in? All right? That might seem like a very simple question, but it's not. Many businesses fail to understand the business that they are in. All right? Now, if someone asks you a simple question, what is the business of the South African breweries? What would you say? What is the business of the South African breweries? What do they do? All right? And how will they define what business they are in? There you are. The guys in Boxback think that it's produce alcohol. All right? But is that the business that they are in? Is that what SABC does? You will be surprised to know that SABC actually produce appetizer. Do you know that? It's non-alcoholic. And yet, SAB produces appetizer. Do you know a brand called Bonaqua? It's mineral water, right? Now, SAB produces mineral water. Did you know that SAB produces and mixes Coke in this country? Huh? Now, so in a sense, you look at a business and you say, I know what business they are in. But it's not as clear cut as that. Remember, I said a mission statement or a definition of the business gives us a roadmap of where we're going. It tells us that, guys, we're going to Pietermaritzburg. All right? Now, we can all start out on the N1 driving. So you see businesses that are on the N1, they are driving. But you don't know when they're going to turn. You don't know when they're going to make a decision that seems to be in contrast with their mission. All right. Now, when you're driving on the N1, if you're going to Pietermaritzburg or you're going to Durban, you have to make a turn after Bloemfontein. Otherwise, you're not going to reach Durban. You're going to find yourself in Johannesburg. You see? So, if SAB was on the alcohol producing business, then they would be producing Jack Daniels. They would be producing Johnny Walker. All of those are alcoholic beverages. But they have said to themselves, we want to be the best beverage business in the world. So that already defines what kind of products they're looking to produce. That then tells them, hello Salt River, you're drifting in and out. Welcome guys. So that already tells us that their market is not just in South Africa or in Africa, but it's all over the world. Can you see? So it tells us we want to produce beverages. It doesn't matter whether they're alcoholic or they are soft drinks. We want to produce them, and we want to do business all over the world. That's where we are going. We're going all over the world. So if you see SAP in the Middle East, don't be surprised. If you see SAP in China, don't be surprised. If you see SAP in Africa, in Zambia, in Malawi, in Uganda, in the Sudan, in wherever, in Nigeria, do not be surprised, because these guys have said we're going all over the world. That's their mission statement. Okay? Now, a mission statement should not be narrow. Okay? It should not be too narrow. It shouldn't say we want to produce the best cassava in the world. Huh? Because cassava is not the only product in the market. There are many other products. Yeah? It shouldn't be too broad. It shouldn't say we want to produce the only beer in the world. No, it shouldn't be that broad. Yeah? So it could say we want to produce the best beer hops based products in the whole world. Something like that. All right. So you get the idea of mission statements. Mission statements are very important. They're very, very, very important in terms of how we define the business. API, by the way, API is owned by SAP Miller. Yeah? So don't be confused. They bought them about 10, 15 years ago. So there you go. Just like SAP bought the company that produces appetizer. So they're in the beverage business, not alcohol production business. Okay. Interesting, hey? Now, shall we move on and talk about strategic objectives? Okay, strategic marketing objectives. They formulate a broad strategic marketing objectives that refer to the firm as a whole rather than brands or markets. Okay, so this is very important, that when we look at objectives, we're not just looking at how to produce the best marketing campaign, how to do the best advertising in the whole world. But marketing objectives are about a firm and the whole firm and its objectives. All right. It's not about the exercise of marketing. So, for instance, in table 14.1, it gives us an example of a marketing objective. It says to achieve 20% market share in RAN volume of the personal communication services cellular telephone market by 2010. Can you see that? So this is a cell phone company, right? The marketing objective is not to be the best brand or to be well known in the market or to serve 2 million customers. No. The marketing objective is we do all of those things because as a firm, we want to achieve 20% market share. Can you see that? So it's not just about the exercise of branding, but it's about the whole market. I'm just thinking this could be a nice exam question. All right, so write that down, make a note. That could be a nice, juicy question in the exam. Now, the next element, a situational analysis. What is a situational analysis? Situational analysis is about analyzing the firm and the market. All right. So remember chapter, I think it's chapter 4, where we're talking about the marketing environment. This is where that information comes in. All right. Analyzing the competitive situation, analyzing the marketing environment. Okay, so it's chapter 2 and chapter 4 combined. So we conduct a SWOT analysis. What is a SWOT analysis? It's an acronym for S stands for strengths, W, now write this down somewhere because you are gonna, this is gonna be in your exam. All right, write it down. S stands for strengths, W stands for weaknesses, and O stands for opportunities, and T for threats. So you can, when you're talking about analyzing the business or doing a SWOT analysis of the business environment, we look at the strengths of the business, the internal strengths, and the internal weaknesses. Okay, so the first two letters about the internal, so the strengths and weaknesses talks about the business itself. The O and the T is opportunities and threats. That looks at the opportunities that the business has. So it's an external environment, opportunities and threats. It looks at the external environment. All right. So when you analyze the business, you look at, okay, what are our strengths? What can we do very well? What can our people achieve the best in? What are we good at that we have that nobody else has in the market? That's the strengths. And the weaknesses talk about what is it that we don't have that causes us to not be able to take a hold of some opportunities in the market. Opportunities look at what are the gaps that we can see in the market that we can take a hold of. All right. And then threats look at what do we see in the environment that could actually destroy our business. So for an example, if you are sitting as Musica, right? So Clicks own a brand called Musica, a chain of shops all over the shopping centers in the landscape, in the retail landscape of South Africa. When they look out, their strength is that they have a network of shops all over the country. Their brand is well known. Okay? Their weaknesses is that they are selling music in a hardware format, okay, in a hard copy format. So they sell music on CDs, they sell DVDs, you know, hard copies of DVDs, hard copies of everything else. All right. So the threat is they look at the popularity of iTunes, the popularity of downloading music on the internet, accessing YouTube music on YouTube. So that undercuts their business. That's a threat. Okay? That's a threat. That's something they look at and they think, oh, if I were Musica, that would be something that I would look at and say, that's a threat to our business. So what is the opportunity? All right. So the opportunity is we can actually sell music software. Okay. How do we do that? The weakness in that opportunity is that we have a network of shops, so we'll have to close shops or have less shops. And the question is, how do we draw people to come into a shop if we still want to have shops? All right. So now you will see that Musica is moving more and more into a gaming experience shop. A gaming experience where kids can come in, they can buy their games, and they can actually try the games, try and play the games in the shop. So the jury's still out there whether that model will work for Musica, or whether in 5 years' time we will still have a shop called Musica in this country, because the threat is like a tsunami. Okay, will Musica survive the tsunami of downloadable content from the internet? So that's a SWOT analysis. That's how we do a SWOT analysis. And so, as a business, with all those, when we see that the all right, so it looks like we lost each other there for a little bit. So let's see if we can restore this. Okay, I hope you're still following me. All right, so social, demographic, economic, technological, political, legal, and competitive forces. So we look at all of those as part of our analysis of the situation. Okay, so part of the competitive analysis, part of the situational analysis is to analyze the strengths and weaknesses of the competition. Okay, so we look at, is there a monopoly on the market? So if you were someone who produces energy, ESCOM is a monopoly producer. Okay, so you have to look at that. Pure competition is in there are many players on the market, and it's easier to enter. Oligopoly, most of our markets in South Africa follow a type of an oligopoly type environment. So for instance, in our cell phone or communication markets, you have Telkom, you have Vodacom, you have MTN, you have Cell C. Those are the main players, and they're just 4 players. So if those guys decided that they want to charge you for receiving SMSs, and they all agreed on it, it's very easy for them to make the decision. It's just 4 people to do that. So the threat to the market with oligopolies is that they can decide to fix prices and no one. So oligopolies can take some kind of a shape of a monopoly. So the construction companies that built the World Cup acted in an oligopoly type tendency of coming together and fix prices. So, and that's corruption, and that's what happened with the World Cup stadium. Monopolistic competition is when oligopolies do not act together and they actually compete with one another. So there is some form of that. So our banks in South Africa, we have the top 4 banks, they act in a sort of monopolistic competition. All right. And then we have something called strategic window. Strategic window is the limited period during which the fit between the key requirements of a market and a particular firm's competencies are at an optimum. So Discovery had a strategic window to enter into our insurance markets, which was mostly dominated by 3 firms, and that was Old Mutual, Sanlam, and liberty. All right. So, and then Discovery came in and they basically just swept through the market because they could do it. And so they had a strategic window, and that was that worked out very well for them. All right. So we assess the corporate culture. Do we have an entrepreneurial culture? Do we have patterns and tendencies in this firm that will allow us to incubate a certain idea or allow us to achieve a certain marketing objective? All right. So types of corporate culture responses are a prospector, a reactor, a defender, an analyzer. Can you give me examples of a corporate culture that acts as a prospector? Eh? What kind of a corporate culture do you see in South Africa that acts as a prospector? All right, so a prospector company focuses on identifying and capitalizing on emerging market opportunities. All right, so emphasizing this through research, communication with the market. This business has a strong external focus in their business. So they are out there looking for opportunities, looking to grow, even though they're big, but they're still out there looking to grow. These are prospects. They are out there looking for opportunities and grabbing a hold of opportunities. Which businesses can you see doing that in South Africa? Huh? Tell me, which are those businesses? You can talk to me. You can talk to me. You are allowed to interact with me. Give me an example of a prospecting business in South Africa that you know. Anyone out there? Anyone? Okay, so MTN, for an example, is a prospecting business. All right. In the past 10 to 15 years, MTN has been out there all over the world, Nigeria, Uganda, everywhere, trying to expand their business. They are prospectors. SAP Miller, all right, has been trying to enter different markets as well. Zambia, Kenya, United States, China, Russia, Colombia. SAP Miller is a prospecting business. A reactor business, a reactor type corporate culture. This is a big business that only reacts. They do the opposite of the prospector. Huh? Which ones are those? Huh? Will you say Vodacom sort of follows that? Maybe not. All right. Your book gives an example of the publisher Coxon, which owns magazine types such as Living and Loving. They are reactors. All right. So they sort of look and see where the trend in the market is going, and they try and defend their business based on what's coming to them. So they react. They're not out there going out, but they sort of coil internally and react. They don't change with the changing environment. Okay, let's move on here. The defender has a specific market domain and does not search outside the domain for new opportunities. Hey? Okay, bazaars. Hey? Desperately try to defend its prominent position in the South African retail market. Despite severe losses in advertising in 1997, this business almost went under. Okay, this brand almost went under. They did not recognize the changing environment and the others that were coming to it. So these businesses go out there and they try and spend and do everything that they can to defend their marketing positions. They don't look to expand, change, or do something else. CNA as a business is currently defending, they are sort of in the same boat as Musica. All right, people have tablets now. People don't use paper a lot. All right, and this business cornerstone is paper, stationery. Okay, stationery business is threatened at the moment. So CNA is in that boat. How do they turn it around? That's an interesting thing that we'll have to see. Analyzers. Analyzers tend to be both conservative and aggressive. They usually operate in at least one stable market and try to defend its position in that market. An analyzer also tries to identify emerging opportunities in other markets. Unlike prospectors, the analyzer is not an aggressive risk taker. Usually second to new product market, the analyzer does not have the advantage of observing and learning from other firms. Okay, so GM in South Africa, they produce cars like Chevrolet and Opel. Okay, they are described as analyzers. They have a dominant position in the bike business with the Isuzu, which they jealously defend, but it generally does not enter risky markets. Okay, all right. So those are corporate cultures. So if you get a question in the exam and asks you about differentiate between those three, you should be able to do that. Opportunity utilization strategies. To discover a market opportunity, the marketing manager must know how to identify alternatives. Now, there are different methods of doing this. You can do it through market penetration, market development, product development, diversification. The selected strategy depends on the corporate philosophy and culture of the firm, the tools used, and the tools used to make the decision. So, the prospectors, how do you think the prospectors utilize opportunities? Which strategies do they use? So the prospectors will probably do what? Product development, or will they do market penetration? So market penetration look like a prospector type thing. Let's go to where no man has gone before. Am I right? All right. Strategic marketing tools. Okay, so we will then look at what are the strategic marketing tools that different businesses use. All right, so in your book you have something called the Boston Consulting Group Portfolio Metrics. Okay, so that's found on figure 14.2. It looks like this. They plot market growth versus market share dominance. The guys who have low market growth, but they have high dominance, those are like the dogs. They're holding on to the business. All right. And then you have guys with low market share but high growth. All right. So those are the stars. And then there's a guys with a sort of low to medium market share and so low to medium market growth, and they call cash cows. And then the question mark businesses are the one with high market share, high market growth. Where do we go to from here? Okay, question mark shows rapid growth in a rapidly growing market, but requires a great deal of cash investment to stay competitive. Without cash support, it eventually becomes a dog. So this business needs to basically say, how do we move on from here? Do we go on an aggressive acquisition business, or do we just become a dog? All right. Do we diversify? Do we change? Do we become something else that we are not? Okay. So the basic strategies used to allocate future resources to each strategic business unit. You either build, hold, harvest, or divest. So those are the strategies that are used in the Boston type basic strategies. So we can look at which strategy do you want to use. All right. For instance, I'll do just one, the harvest one. This strategy approach for all strategic business units sort of classifies some businesses as stars. The basic goal is to increase the short-term cash return without too much concern for the long-term impact on the business. All right. The divest one is basically to get out of the business that you're already in. Okay, so basically you get out of that business. Whereas the harvest one is to say, how can we get as much as we can from this business before we either sell it or divest from it. Okay. Now I just want to move on to competitive advantage. The two basic sources of competitive advantage. You either have superior skills or superior resources. You have superior technology, or you have some people in your business that know things that no one else in the market knows, that can do things that no one else in the market can do. And that produces a competitive advantage. For a while, Woolworths in the food retail business had a superior skill set, and they were able to dominate the market. And for a while, similarly with Pick n Pay, also dominated the media market in the food business as well. Okay. All right. I think I am tempted to, let me just have a look here. So how do we formulate marketing strategies? Yeah, I think I'm going to stop right here, guys. So next week, what we're going to do is we're going to do a bit of a summary and look at exam strategies. How do we tackle exams? And that's what we're going to do. All right, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to go.